Hey, welcome back to another episode of Between the Nose podcast, coming to you live from Costa Rica. And Weston is in Olathe, Kansas. But I've been here for a couple of days, had a little snafu with the travel plans. Had
Yeah, you were
some
supposed to get there on. You were supposed to leave on Sunday,
Sunday.
or yeah.
Yeah, I was supposed to leave there on Sunday, and then the flight from New Orleans to Dallas uh, was delayed, which then meant that the flight to Costa Rica was delayed. So then I
Right.
was like, okay, well, this isn't going to happen. So I'm just going to stay home. And then I flew to Miami the next day, had a layover there, and then got here, and it was great. And yeah, we were able to just kind of take the people that we were going to see on Monday and tack them on to Tuesday, and everything was fine. Gracie Pup, hello, baby,
Gracie Pup's making a little debut.
making an
Oh,
appearance.
she likes to hang
So
out with her people.
yeah, of course. So what's been going on in the Olathe?
Well, I am fulfilling my role as um houseman.
Yeah.
I
Ah,
been getting up early and taking Millie to school. So
man.
that's usually a 6:30, 6:45 wake up, drop her
Sure.
off, at like 7:30. And then I go back and pick her up, but just cleaning the house and emptying the
Yeah.
dishwasher and walking the
Normal
greasy
stuff.
pups.
Normal stuff that makes you feel
Normal, normal life things.
right.
And I think that I think Christina must have just arrived
Well, let's
home
go let her out.
because
It's totally fine. I'll hold down the fort
yeah,
while
yeah,
you
hold,
go.
hold down the
Yeah,
fort. Hold on one second. Hold on one
totally
second.
fine.
Hold on.
So I had
Rainbow scissors
yesterday
here.
worked with
Okay,
13
we'll
or
see.
14 singers
All right.
for about 20 or
My
30 minutes
apologies.
there. Weston's just going to keep talking
It's
over me
live
because he
theater.
can't
It's,
hear me
it's
because his headphones were not on, so he couldn't hear that he was talking over me the whole time, but it's totally fine.
sorry.
Come I was just saying that yesterday I worked with about, 13 or 14 students between 15 and 20 minutes each, and it was
Oh
really
wow.
great. Wonderful voices. I mean, I've been so lucky this summer to go to New Zealand and IU and have people from China and all over the place come and do this, but it just shows you that, there's no monopoly on good voices like the good Lord or the soil or the parents or whoever makes these voices. They're just amazing. And I have to say, they've been wonderful, wonderful voices that are obviously getting some really solid, great teaching down here.
Right.
So happy to come and give them my thoughts. And
What do you notice the differences between, let's say, the Italianate training, the bel canto school techniques that
yeah,
we kind of came up with? Do you notice anything different, like in New Zealand or in Costa Rica?
um,
Like, is the approach similar? I mean, I assume that they're all
yeah. I mean, I think they're
essentially
all going for the
Western.
same kind of thing. Let's talk
Yeah,
about though, and I think this is an interesting topic that we could talk about, maybe even more at length at another episode. But like how one's native language
sure.
and where that language kind of like what's the timbre, not just the vowels and stuff. We all know that Russian tends to fit a little bit further back,
Yeah,
and
like where does
Italian
the
tends to fit a
vernacular
little bit
tend to
more like
resonate?
this. It's
Hmm.
very fun. And I would say the Spanish is closer to the Italian, obviously, than the Russian. I think English kind of sits in the middle, maybe not as far back um, as Russian, and so it's just a kind of a way of I've said this a number of times. Like there are different ways to balance a voice, like to balance the voice in a way of like bringing the placement say forward, or like going for height,
Yeah,
closure. There are all kinds of ways to get more buzz core things to the sound. There are kind of different ways to also get color into the sound, and as long as the voice is balanced, I think it doesn't matter. And
sure.
as long as the sound is good, the vibrato is even, the intonation is good, all those kinds of things that make a singer's sound balanced and good, they're all fine.
Yeah,
But anyway, so I've worked. I guess probably it has to do with the fact that I've done a lot of French music in my career. That a lot of people are bringing me French stuff, um, and so we've had to work specifically. I would say on the schwa, instead of being like je veux vivre, je veux vivre, right? It's taller, it's rounder, it's more gathered,
hmm,
but that's not a sound that I think is, you know, prevalent in the Spanish language. So for them, they have to really, I was talking about the mustache muscles today that we're talking about making sure that they're really active. Because if those are not, it's really hard to get a really good French je if you don't go je.
Right.
Otherwise, they're just like, well, that's not French. It might be a schwa, but it's not French schwa.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
And so we did a lot of that kind of work, and then some of the nasals and things like I know we see an and in tendre, but you don't say tendre, tendre. And so all this kind of stuff. Um, and they were super quick. I mean, their ears are wonderful. They're very intuitive. Um, different than say how things work in the US, and this system here in Costa Rica is more like what we would see in Europe, right? If you have a good voice and you're talented, then uh and you want to become a singer, then they have like a 3-year kind of pre-college getting you ready, right?
Mm,
Which would be the combination of kind of what our first 2 years of undergrad would be, where you're doing diction courses and you're learning how to be a musician, how to learn music, all that kind of stuff. And then once you get into the college part, which they kind of call career, although it's not what we think of in America as career, because we think of that's
right.
something about making money and doing it. This is in career here is where you're just completely focused on learning how to sing. Then they're doing more specialized operatic arias and stuff like that. So it's been really interesting because I've worked with both of them and even some students who are older who are post college. But it
How
was
old
like
are the students who are in who are in the pre-college?
about that same age, right? So between 19 and 21.
Okay. And then career?
And then career is like 22 to like I worked with somebody who was 26, I think, today.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of times when these singers come to the US, they tend to be older than
Hmm.
US singers because the way they are trained in their home country, it's a little bit different. Just like I was talking with my buddy Billy, who's here, he has 2 children. Um, and, you know, so their grammar school is like K through 6, and then high school is 7 through 12, but it's really 11 because he was saying that they have kindergarten, but then they have another grade, and then they go into first grade.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, that's interesting because he moved when he met his wife, who was from Costa Rica. They moved down here, and his daughter had to, assimilate in the school here and trying to figure out which year she would be because also
Right.
their summer break is December to February
All right.
because, of course, they're in the southern hemisphere. And even though it's a tropical country, it doesn't really snow here, I don't think, at least what I've heard. Um, that's when their summer break is. And so they actually usually go up to see Billy's family in the DC area during that
Well,
time.
getting back to the whole idea of like uh, uh, finding where your vernacular speaking voice happens to resonate without even
Yeah,
trying to be purposeful about
sure.
creating an operatic sound. But
Right.
just if your normal speech is like, hey, what's going on? I mean, me being from Houston, I
About to
feel
say,
like
if you're
mine's
from
a
Texas, you get a little bit of twang in there.
well, and if you're further east or further northeast, specifically Nacogdoches, or like, you get some of that, hey, what are you doing there? Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, yeah, and I think, and I taught students one, in Wisconsin, and you get this the Wisconsin, like, oh,
Right.
your ah vowel is
Really
just, it's
spread.
like banging your head against a wall trying to say no, cod, and you're like, no, 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 or a thick Boston accent, or there's
Nasty.
all these different regional accents that can definitely get in the way, even in this country. So when you think about different languages and where that language typically sits, as far as like what timbre, what resonance, what however you want to
Sure.
think of it, um,
Sure.
yeah,
I
there.
think in the
I mean,
musical theater world, they call that twang.
sure, sure. Where's your twang?
Where's the twang?
Um, and like you said, if we're shooting for a balanced chiaroscuro sound, and you speak like this, you might need to hang out with Texans,
Right. Balance it
find
up.
a little bit more. Yeah, how you doing? Want to wear a cowboy hat? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was funny because I was working, so I had a bass baritone today and I had a mezzo today.
Yeah,
And I maybe it's because I'm a high voice that I tend to work with a lot of high voices, but I mean, I work with anybody. It just maybe the ones that come to me
sure.
tend to
Well,
be
yeah,
like,
any tenor would want to be like, okay, I'm going to turn you with Brian.
help me with my top. If I'm struggling with my top, that guy had good
Yeah,
top. What can we do?
yeah.
And so, more often than not, what I encounter, what presents in a lesson is somebody who's doing some kind of pressing or overly forward, kind of stuck sound. And so, what I have to do is get them to think of a rounder, taller sound,
Mm,
uh, so that they're not using the base of their tongue to pull back or like get tight and kind of drive the sound
sure.
into the mask, which I'm not opposed to the sound getting to the mask. But I think if you go straight there, you miss the whole scenic route, like I like to say, where you
Well,
get all
yeah.
the color and the bloom, and also the throat to release and not squeeze in
It's
order
been
to
a
get that.
while since we've had sort of a technical talk
I know,
episode. It's kind of nice to revisit it from time to time. I mean,
sure,
right now I'm prepping an opera that's in English and a
right,
very 2026 vernacular kind of
yeah.
English. One of the first lines I say is, "They always wipe their own asses." So
I was about to say, Missy Mazzoli loves a curse word. Like, what kind of good stuff
yeah,
you get to say in
oh
there?
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh
No,
my
it's
god,
fun. It's definitely fun. But I have to think about it. It's like, well, after all, I mean, what I love, I mean, it's hysterical. I've never sung a role like this where, in Italian, right before my character starts, it says sempre drunk. So the character and his wife appear together, Mr. and Mrs. Barron, and they're drunk ghosts that live in
sempre,
the bardo in
sempre,
this purgatory. But and
briaco, I think they say in Italy.
Briaco. And
Mm,
so it's a balance of like, well, I want to create an operatic sound, but I also want to make sure I'm sounding drunk, and I'm also wanting to make sure that I put characterization into the inflections of, so finding that kind of balance. I mean, I think that's the fun of, learning and preparing a role.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a long time since I've sung anything in English, and even still, it was things like Messiah or like when I did
Hmm.
Butterfly for E&O, and they were
Right.
like, "You sound too like Broadway." I was like, "We drop our anchor there wherever we want it." And they're like, "Yeah, could we maybe we drop our anchor there?" I was like, "What? Do you guys? Yeah, I guess you do speak like that. I
I
can
tell you
hear it."
what, putting together an English production at E&O, as
Oh
we have
wow.
both done, and that is one of the most challenging sort of like, I mean, whoever creates those, I mean, kudos to them for trying
Yeah,
to
for
figure out
sure.
what vowel is going to be on what word. So
And they really sincerely do it. They
they do a
really
great job.
they do a great job. Absolutely.
And I will say that I mean, this was, I don't even remember how many times that Jonathan Miller production had been remounted over the decades, but they gave us a great deal of leeway. If I said, "Hey, can I sing this word instead of that word? Is that okay?" I mean, it's the same meaning. And they're like, "Yeah, if it feels better, yeah, sure." They're like, just get them in before the subtitles get printed.
Yeah,
It's
right,
like,
exactly.
but yeah, I mean, it's interesting, trying to figure out what's going to be better in those moments. But yeah, I mean, I think that, again, if our goal that we're always keeping in mind is clarity of diction along with a chiaroscuro balance, so that we are able to portray the character through an operatic lens, and like you say, not leaning towards musical theater unless that's the purpose, unless that's the intent.
Sure. Well, and I think
Y-
that all has to do with, right? Like those, we can, if we're using a microphone and amplification, we don't have to pick the most resonant vowel
yeah, no, we can
because
do whatever we want.
the amplification is going to do it for you.
Yeah,
But
sure.
when we are the amplifier and we're using our own natural amplifiers, we have to use the one that has the resonance that is going to help carry over the orchestra. And I mean, it was funny. Like, get back to the technique thing for just a second. Um, I don't know that we've talked about this on here, but I talk a lot about in my singing and teaching in my master classes that we hear a lot about vowel modification, but I do a lot
Mm,
of consonant modification, which is kind of
mm,
in line with the work that Steve Smith was talking about, doing M's with a and then you just close your lips, right? So you get a nice resonant hmm. So you're not singing which is
right.
pressed. You're saying and then you're just closing your lips, and you get a beautiful hum that has resonance. I do this on N's, M's, L's, all these things. I think about having the vowel behind what the tongue is doing or the lips are doing to form that. And that way, there was a tenor who I was working with today, great voice, amazing. Is on a really good track, but on every N and M, he was really pressing into, and then that would bleed into the vowel. Whereas 80% of this guy's vowels were super free and beautiful and clear.
That's
But
good.
anytime he had to do like a nella or a ma, it would be ma. And I was like, no, you're killing yourself in the passaggio here because you're
Right.
using too much pressure. And if you just do have the vowel formed in your mouth, whatever vowel you're about to say, formed in your mouth, and then just use the articulators at the tip of the tongue and the mouth. Then you've got all this resonance, and it's not just mouth resonance; it's head. I've got my soft palate up. I've got my throat
Sure.
open. All these kind of good things that a lot of times I don't know how nobody taught me that. It's not like I think, oh, I'm a genius for this. But when I was doing the French rep where that I had to go, no, well, in the Guillaume Tell first duet between the tenor and the baritone, I was like, how am I supposed to say mon amour on high C, B natural, B flat? It's crazy. Now,
Right.
some teachers just say, just don't say anything. And I was like, well,
Right. Just saying.
only split the difference. Yeah, right,
Right.
exactly.
Right. Right.
And so I'll be like, So I use the closed lips to like kind of have that, but then also the pull back of the soft palate
So
to get the height.
what
Go
you're
ahead.
saying is making sure that when you close the front of the mouth, you're not closing the space behind the mouth. And I
Nail
think
it. Nail it.
that's the
Yep.
absolute critical point. My teacher at IU, James McDonald, he used
Yeah.
to always say, when the eye lids blink around the eye, they don't squish the eye. He used to talk
Love
about
that.
that, right? And
I love this.
so
For the
I remember that.
consonants to like trip in without
Yeah,
pressing.
right. Same thing as
Great.
like when your garage door closes, you still have your car inside your garage. You know what I mean? Like it's
You're
just the
not
door.
squeezing it. Love that. Yeah.
Right? It's nothing on the inside is getting squished. And I
Yeah.
think for anyone who is struggling with that, it's also there's like two or three other things that I want to say about this. If it's marked fortissimo, what's the tendency going to be?
Right.
Squeeze and press and, to
Right.
try to, it's like, no, 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 like in Caddyshack. No, 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 no,
There
no,
you
no,
go.
no, no. Be the ball. So in other words, you can't allow the aggression of the sound that we ultimately would like to allow to happen. We can't make that happen muscularly through a consonant for sure. And I think that the more we can trust, like you said, when you mentioned Stephen Smith, he talked all the time about liquefying consonants,
Yeah. Yeah.
allowing the liquefaction. So it's like, na la na la, just allowing so that the everything behind it and through it is still singing.
Well, I love that, like, because we come from a lot of the same background. So when you
Yeah,
say liquefy a consonant, I'm like, I know exactly what he's talking about.
sure, sure,
But
sure.
somebody who hasn't, be like, how would you liquefy something that's not a liquid? You know what I
You're
mean? It's
right.
like
No, well, the way I
the
think of it is
idea.
like I
Yeah.
see this all the time. Here's your
Yeah.
sound, right?
Right.
Here's the sound that you're making, and instead of allowing a consonant to slice through it,
Right.
it's more of just a little blip on top, so that the consonant itself doesn't interrupt the creation of the
Precisely.
sound that you've got going on below it.
And what is flowing before, during, and after is the air, ideally.
Right. Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
And not
That's the
pushing the
consistent
air
all the
any
way through.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I thought that was really helpful and a really interesting, kind of things that we were talking about today. What I
Let
want
me ask you this: did you
Go
notice
ahead.
like was that a trend that you noticed?
Um, yes, but it's not just here, it's everywhere,
Well,
and
sure.
especially
Yeah.
for tenors. Tenors like to scoop up on consonants, and
Right. Right.
I tend to think that oftentimes what people are doing is using the consonant like an N or an L or something, or it depends, or even a D. Like they're using that consonant as a stepping stool to get up to the high note. And I
Hmm.
think it's all bad, right? So you want to stretch and then come in right there, whatever the pitch is. I mean, if there's a little bit of, I'm not opposed to the scoop from a stylistic standpoint, unless we're talking French music. But in Italian music that we're doing today, I only say something if one, it sounds tight, two, the vibrato is uneven, or three, it's out of tune.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I will let it go because I don't want people to be like, that guy just cares about scooping and he cares about not doing
Right.
this. He's all about tongue tension. And I was like, well, if you don't unlock the base of the tongue, then you really kind of can't get to the rest of the stuff. So if I'm harping on
Absolutely.
that, that's because people are not getting it. I
Right.
would love to not have to mention the base of the tongue and releasing the tongue forward, or even just not pulling it back. Like, that's, to be honest with you, is like what I'm trying to do is get people to stop pulling it back and squeeze, because that just creates tension that builds over the course. And I was talking to this one tenor today who has a beautiful voice, and it's the same guy who was singing so well. But by the time he got to like the cadenza part, he was dead. He was so tired and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't sound good and he barely got the note out. And I was like, that's because you picked up 15 1 kilo weights
Mm-hmm.
on every bad onset, or not bad, but overly weighted onset
Scooping
that you
from
did. So
below,
by the
whatever.
time you
Yep.
get 3 minutes into the singing, you're like, you don't have the freshness and the stamina to do this anymore. So I was like, you can go, but if you're going to get tired, just try and go, ah, uh, not, because then it just has that tension, and you're going to carry that tension through the whole phrase until you're able to take a breath and release it. But, it's not a light switch, right? We can't turn off, and just say, oh, drop all the tension. I mean, yes, but like, that's why if we could do that, we wouldn't need massages. Could just like, oh, I'm just going to
Yeah. Just
drop
stop
all my
being
tension
stressed
right now.
out. Stop being
Just,
tense.
yeah, drop all your tension right now. Oh, great. Save $150, right? Don't need a massage. But you know what I mean? It's that same kind of thing. So anyway, it was really interesting and fun to work with them. Some great sopranos, one really wonderful baritone, a great bass baritone who, funny enough, like us, was a trumpet player before.
Wow.
Let me tell you, you could tell because it was all like that. And he's got a strong
Well,
voice and
yeah.
it's good. But I was like, listen, supporting the voice and supporting the embouchure for a trumpet are very, very different,
Very different.
you know.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for me to realize that, because everybody I always worked with as far as teaching singing was like, oh, great, you're a trumpet player. You got good support. I was like, oh, okay. Until it was like, well, that's way too much support
Right.
for a balanced, beautiful production phonation of tone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's
so yeah,
tricky. It's
so
tricky.
that's what's been going on here. But it's a beautiful country. It's nice and cool. It's probably 73 degrees right now.
It's
No air
nice.
conditioning in the hotel, but it's fine. Don't miss it at all. I got the windows open, got the fan going. It's quite comfortable.
Nice. That's
And
great.
yeah, food's
And
good.
you're
People
there
are,
for how long?
so I leave on Monday.
Okay.
So I got here on Monday 2 days ago, another 3 or 4 days to go, and then I get back, and then I drive straight to Bloomington and start uh the semester. And I have my a faculty meeting on Wednesday, and then I have a studio class at 6 on Wednesday, and
Right
super
back
excited.
into it.
Yeah, right back into it. I'm super excited about the studio that I have this year. We've got probably have 8 or 9 new students and 10 returning, all of whom I love. They're all great singers and great people, and so I'm super excited.
I know you've got some AIs, right? Some full ride folks who are
I
coming in
do.
new.
I have
That's
at
exciting.
least 2, if not 3 of those, which is it's a wealth of an embarrassment of riches. That's what I was looking for, an
There you go.
embarrassment of riches, but I'll take it. And yeah, another all voice types. The 3 full rides I have is a bass baritone, a mezzo, full mezzo, and a tenor from China. And then I have wonderful other students as well. So not to in any way say that they're not great, but lots of
No, no, no. But I mean,
young undergrads and
I just mean that when you're first starting out teaching at a university,
sure.
oftentimes the majority of the students that we're teaching are, quite frankly, leftovers from other studios,
Yeah,
or
right, exactly.
you know,
If
it's
education
not
majors,
you haven't had a chance to recruit yet, is my point.
sure,
And
right,
so I think that the as you progress in years there, you'll start to end up with the studio that you recruit, which is always, the goal.
sure,
And then you really find like you have a strong studio resembling your teaching and recruiting and
Right.
aesthetic, which I think
Actually,
is
and when I
great.
say like education majors, that's not in any way to disparage
No,
education majors.
God, sometimes the education majors are better than the performance majors.
I mean, they're certainly like eager to learn and stuff. But somebody who comes to IU as a choral education major
Hmm.
ideally wants to be a high school choir director, and that's
Hmm.
wonderful. Those people have made how many, of those kinds of people have made huge impressions in our lives and everybody else's
Absolutely.
life.
My mom and stepdad included.
Indeed. But I mean, I'm an opera singer. I don't know how to teach show choir. I don't know I mean, I guess I can kind of sort of help a little bit, but like what my expertise is in operatic and classical repertoire. And so,
Sure.
and that's fine. And I have a very um honest and straightforward conversation with those kids and say, listen, it's my job as your voice teacher to teach you some standard classical vocal technique that you can use and adapt to whatever kind of music you're singing yourself or you're teaching your students to sing. And I think they really appreciate that, because if I just was like, here's Recondita Armonia, let me hear your VC Darte next week, which would be, I mean, that's kind of a joke, but you know what I'm saying? Like if I just was
Of
going for
course.
standard repertoire, for operatic repertoire, they couldn't care less and they wouldn't
Right.
have any
Right.
ambition to practice that, not to mention how difficult singing in other languages are for these singers who have maybe done like Cantique de Jean Racine or something like
Sure.
that,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
something that they've done with
Well,
their choir, which is beautiful.
but thankfully, there's so many
Yeah.
anthologies of, the first book of soprano solos or
Yes.
the 24 Italian songs. I mean,
Right.
there's so many anthologies and groups of songs that are perfect for young singers to learn and establish those traditional classical techniques that, like you said, can be applied to any style of music so that you don't get tired or so that your voice doesn't get,
You're
raspy or so, whatever the faults of singing the way that they were
Yeah.
before,
I mean, this reminds me back when you went back to Texas Tech to do that, choir weekend for your choir
Yeah,
director.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah, yeah.
guys were singing like 6 hours a day or something.
Oh, we had
It
so
was
many
brutal.
rehearsals.
I
And
can't
it's like
imagine if yeah.
I mean, when you're looking at the page and it's like pianissimo and you're in a section of like, and you're like you make a sound where it's like they're like basis
Oh my god.
it's so opposite of what I was used to doing,
Sure. Well,
So
different
yeah,
goals, right? Blending, 60 people sound as one,
right.
or augmenting and capitalizing upon your
Where
individualities
one voice
so
can
that
sing over
one
60
voice.
members of an orchestra, it's like
Exactly, right? It's
however
amazing.
you look at it.
Oh, what a
Um,
fun thing.
yeah.
Well, good, brother.
Well,
Well, I miss you. I look forward to it's probably just over a month where we're all going to be in New York together.
that's
I
right.
bought my ticket the other day
I did too.
for the 18th to the 21st of September, where I knew
That is exactly
after
in
you
one
were going to
month.
be there. Yeah, I knew you
Yeah,
were going
yeah.
to be there, and so I got that, and it's all ready to go, and we'll have
I
to
love
do
it.
a Between the Notes live,
We'll
live from the Big Apple.
absolutely. We'll set up a little table at Lincoln Center and make it our
Yes,
little.
I love it.
Hey, we're joking, but who knows? Who knows? We'll
Maybe
find.
we are. Maybe we are.
Maybe
Maybe not.
we'll find a
Hey,
spot on the High
laptops
Line.
exist. Hey, the High Line. That's not a bad idea. Or like
Not a bad
out
idea.
on that grassy area going over to Juilliard. Maybe we
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sit
yeah.
out there with the Juilliard School in the back, or them turn it around. We got the Met in the back. Super
There we
fun.
go. All right. Well,
Well,
listen, enjoy the rest of your time in Costa Rica. So
thank
glad
you,
that you
brother.
were able to make time to tape this today. And
Always, absolutely.
like and subscribe. And please keep coming at us with all those questions. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Questions. Pick up the phone. You don't even have to. Just
Just
say,
type.
what do
All
you
right.
mean by tongue tension?
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
let's go
Wait,
into that.
my teacher says that I have jaw tension. What's that? How can I get better
Oh,
at that?
you ever heard the phrase disentangle the
Mm.
tongue, base of the tongue from the jaw? We could talk all
Mm.
about that.
Separation of function, perhaps.
Oh,
All right.
getting
Well,
funky.
all of these and more to come on future episodes of Between the Notes podcast.
All right. Well, thanks
All
for
right.
joining. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Notes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
And join us next week for more behind the scenes stories, laughs, and operatic gold coming your way.